Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and in this video I will show you the process of starting a track from zero or with the empty project. Before I start the video, I want to ask all of you to write down in the comments what would you like to see in the upcoming videos from me, and I'll do my best to make these videos. The idea of this video is to share the process that will speed up the process of starting a track. So when we start a track, we want to have something good sounding as soon as possible, as once we sit in front of the computer to create and express our ideas, it is important to keep the focus on each segment of creating a track. As we will do writing, sound design, mixing, arranging, and many other things simultaneously, I strongly recommend to focus on each segment at a time. So once we start a track, we must make a good groove and create a sketch of the ideas fast so that we can stay motivated to continue working on that track. I would say that the beginning of a track is a process of writing and sound design combined, and my advice is that focus is mostly on writing and sketching the ideas. Sound design is needed in this process as well, but to keep our focus on the creativity, we should help ourselves to do these processes as fast as possible so we don't cut our creative flow. After we have ideas written down, we can always get back and fix the details of the sound design, and we can dedicate a session for that process only. But we would have the idea written down already, which is the most important part. I would say that we should prioritize processes in the following order. So the first one would be creativity and writing or composing. In this segment, we will create the groove, make the atmospheres, and give some emotion to the track, as this process is the most important as it has the biggest value. All other processes should only support this segment. And this is why I prioritize this segment as the most important. If we cut our creative flow by detailed sound design and mixing, we risk to lose that creative flow, and if we focus on creativity, we will do this process way better. So using certain methods to make some sound design and mixing techniques faster to get better results without losing our focus on creativity is a huge support to our creative expression. As the second segment, I would set the sound design, as it is a half technical, half creative process. We can be expressive and creative with the sound design, but I think that this process would be way better if we already have some creative sketches that would inspire us to do a better sound design. For example, the great groove can be a huge inspiration, and it can give us a hint of what sound designs or soundscapes we can use for that track. So few written lines of the melody or the chord progression can keep our creative workflow, and they can be of huge inspiration for the sound design. I see sound design as the second, as it is kind of a supporter for writing or composing our track. From another point, sound design can be the inspiration for writing as well. Just a great lead synthesis can trigger the inspiration for our writing. I would say that writing or composing is the main segment, and that sound design should only support writing or composing, but they are connected and they can influence each other. On the third place, I would place mixing, as mixing is the process where we approach 100% from a technical side to make our tracks and elements to sound better. Same as the sound design, amazingly mixed element can influence our composing or writing if they sound great, and they can be great source of motivation, as our sound elements can provide us a pleasure working with them. So instead of getting motivated with the good mixing, I would formulate it differently by saying that with the good sounding elements, our focus won't jump on the mixing and listening it from a technical point of view, but we will keep our focus on the creativity and composing. If we consider these three segments or processes as important for starting out a track and keeping the focus on creativity and understanding, we cannot completely divide them, as they are all connected to each other. I develop a certain tactical tricks to keep my focus on creativity in an empty project and getting decent sounding results in the mixing and the sound design field. So the first one would be using a template, as is the easiest method if we already have, let's say, drum template that sounds good enough, that matches the idea of your new track. By using template, we don't need to use all the elements from the template, but we can use it as a mixing template or reference. If we already have the drum elements that are mixed and sound good together, we can start replacing them one by one. But if we have the kick, for example, that is already sound good with other elements, then we will know exactly on which level to put the new kick. Does it need more low end, more mids or more highs, as we will have to compare it with the reference kick. The same applies for the other drum elements. Having the levels A frequency response from template parts can save us tons of the time. Besides using the drum templates with all the samples mixed, if we wish to create a completely new drum pattern, we can use MIDI templates for our drums. 8 bars long MIDI templates with the MIDI already on each drum shot positioned can save us tons of the times. Kick will always be on the same position, close hi-hat, snare and open hat as well. We can create a MIDI templates for our samples and then just drag and drop different samples inside, playing around until we find the perfect combination or the combination that sounds the best for our case. Using preset is a great way to sketch the ideas and write them down fast. We can do sketching with the presets we have, and finding the right preset packs, as well as the synths and VST instruments that matches your idea is crucial. Even though I know synthesis and sound design as my own hand, I mostly use presets to write down ideas. As I mentioned before, my main goal is to keep my focus on the creativity and writing and composing without being distracted by jumping from composing or writing to sound design or mixing. Everything I sketched I will be modified later on when the track already gets a certain form, and I'll go in detail sound design and mixing in the moments when I do not have ideas from my writing or composing. I will do everything I can to keep my hierarchy of the processes to keep bringing the best out of me. Besides using presets as they are, we can always use them as a start point and not starting the track or the sound design from scratch, as we will spend a tons of time doing exactly the same things over and over again. There are also other things from the mixing side. Let's say if we use the auto EQ to make our elements to sound good from the beginning, instead of searching for the best frequency response for our elements, we can use previously mixed element as a reference and apply auto EQ technique to our new element. This way, we can save us a lot of time by finding the right EQ combination and bringing us the results way faster, which will help us to keep our focus on creativity. So now I will lead you to the process of building this track which I created. So this is only one session that I had yesterday and I continue working today. So I started with importing or creating an instance of the kick 2, but instead of creating the kick from the beginning, I just inserted the kick 2 and I went through the presets that I already pre-made. As the default preset and the default presets from kick 2 does not sound so good to my taste, and I do not like them to kinda start my track with. So instead of tweaking and starting from the beginning, I can always go through my presets, all of the kicks that I already made, and every time I create a good sounding kick, I will save it as a preset, as I can use it as a start point later on. So for this case, I use this kick 01, and then I was applying a certain techniques and created something sounding like this. So I completely modified it, I changed the pitch, I changed the curve, I changed everything, I added a different click, and I will open the kick over here. As you will see that the length is completely different, the EQ is different, drive is all good, the click is different, here is no kick, and on the new one I have click point 0.8, which is also tweaked and modified, and then I have a huge processing from a side, and all of this have created the kick that I really like, and I did it extremely fast. I didn't start from the beginning, I used the auto EQ. So for auto EQ, I imported the kick that I really like, that has an amazing frequency response, and what I did, I just sent this to no bus, so I don't want to hear it, I just want to use its signal as the reference for the new kick. Then I opened the Pro Q3 over here, and what I did, I went inside of here, EQ match, I set the external sidechain was on, so the signal from that reference kick was entering the Pro Q3, and then after it analyzed it, I clicked the match and it created all these bands to make it to sound closer to the kick that I was referencing it with. So I'm gonna bypass all of it, and I'm just gonna, I'll play the, this is without EQ, and this is with EQ. So the differences are big, and instead of me searching around using the analyzers and trying to find the best combination, I just used the auto EQ to fasten up the whole process. And I believe that by analyzing something that's already sounds good, the Pro Q3 did a really great job. Again, this is not the final result of it. I have a lot of EQ after it. I put it some processing like the R bass. I put the suit too to reduce all the resonances down. I felt that this kick is ending up on a nice frequency, but still missing like a little bit lower. So I used the BX or Brainworks subsynth. And I used the GEQ30 from Cubase to do like all these small corrections on the 50 and 40 because I wanted to bring a bit more of the low end. Then I imported the Pro MB as I wanted to compress a little bit of this punch on the mids. Then Pro Q3 again to reshape, as I saw on the analyzer that it missed a little bit of the mids and it was kind of a bit too much subby, so I didn't want to change as it was easier for me just to do it from this process. So I brought a little bit more punch. Here I reduced one of the resonances. Again, I brought up a little bit of the mids. And if you ask me why do I use all the different EQs, I'm just gonna use what is the fastest way for me, as I have a shortcut over here to open the channel strip. So this EQ is the fastest way for me to open it up and just do a certain corrections. And I have a split EQ to bring up the transient on the lower mids area from 200 to 800. So this kick is still not finished, and then on the end I had the two different limiters. I was just testing which one will do the better job. I did play a lot around the settings of shear transparency, attack, release, transients, and release as well. So even though I don't like them that much, so all of this processing, all of these parameters, I will change a little bit more as the time goes, as I don't want to rush right now. I just want to bring it closer to something that I like, and then later on I'm going to finalize it. What I'm listening to is mostly the groove, and for example, for the bass line that I used, I'm just going to delete this. So I make my bass lines with the Rapture right now. And if I insert the new instance of the Rapture Pro, you will see that the default preset it's a basic synthesis which I mostly use almost always. So all the similar parameters are going to be played. I mostly will use in almost every case, two filters, two LP2 filters, which are 12 dB filters with two different envelopes. So I have set this and I saved it as a default preset. So every time I open the Rapture Pro, I will have this as a start point. And then I will just need to tweak this knob around to make it closer to the track that I want to create. Then I got the new, as I already said, the most important thing about using the presets. I'm always buying a lot of the VST instruments that are rich with the presets and that sound good enough, because I want to use them as a start point. I want to use them sometimes just to sketch up the idea. I already have the pre-saved presets for my delays, for my reverbs, and I'm just gonna insert them and I'm gonna play around. So I already know and I understood what are the things that I mostly do from the beginning, and I repeated it every time. And all of these things I just started saving as a presets, as I don't necessarily need to use the preset as it is, but I can use it as a start point, and then just changing few parameters, I can get a different result. Again, when it comes to delays, I'm using like 5 different delays. So every time I'm going to try combine. Sometimes I'm going to insert all 5 of them and then just A, B, and see with which delay I'm going to get the best sounding results. From this point, for the bassline, I moved down to the processing, which I mostly know how to do. So I'm going to insert several different multiband plugins in order to get different results. But since this bassline is kind of it's not the offbeat, it's like one long notes all the time. I do not have that click on this bass line. And then I have the LFO tool just for ducking, and this is all for that one. Now I use the different bass lines as well. As you can see, these are like bass 04. I have 4 different bass lines because for this kind of the groove, which I'm gonna make the video about using multiple bass lines for creating the groove, I just use the Legend, which is the new baby in the studio, and I'm gonna do a full review of this VST instrument, but I will need to have a little bit more time with it so I can learn it, but I'm promising you it's one of the amazing sounding and inspirational instruments. It really does inspire me, and I was able to create in only hour or two something that I already see as a start of a nice sounding track. Everything made from the beginning, so bass 2, bass 3, bass 4, so all 4 of them. I created the Zap snare, which is kind of popular lately. And then I insert the Atlas. It's also the new plugin, which I still didn't manage to learn a lot, but I'm gonna make a full video about it because it is amazing, amazing, amazing VST instrument and sampler that can really save us a lot of time actually. So what I did, I had the kick also from it. So instead of this kick, I chose to create the new one, which I believe sounds way better for the Psytrance music, even though this one is not bad. So I inserted the snare, I inserted the clap on top of the snare, I also used the ride. So all from the sequencer. As this VST instrument is a multi-channel, I can have different channels out of it. And also I have the nerve, which I really like for like a step sequencer, which is similar to the Atlas, but nerve I'm using for a very long time and I'm fast in it. And this is the first thing I added it. So I added like the close hi-hat, and I added another close hi-hat in a different sequence, even though I could use a different channel from it, just from the pad too, as it is also able, I was also able to use the different outputs from this plugin as well. Again, I have some small melody which I wrote down with the Legend. And all this Atmo. This is also from the Legend, but I'm gonna make a full review of the Legend. Beautiful. And the fourth one. So all together sounds in really short amount of time. I would say like around 1 hour and 30 minutes in total. From the 0 point, I came up to something sounding like. So that would be my tips and tricks about how to use presets and some of the techniques in order to create something really fast, as this part is really important. So having a good groove, also some of the elements or atmosphere, soundscapes, textures, small written melodies are important for the beginning, because if they are done good enough, they're gonna keep us motivated to continue working on this track and finish it up fast, which can lead us to great success, and the whole process is really enjoyable of getting results really fast. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to write down in the comments what would you like to see next from my videos. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. Bye.